Oh, is he gonna Zoom?
Gonna Zoom.
Okay.
Said he thought he couldn't have.
Well, and Wendy's gonna address that too, but evidently you can vote and you can't. You don't get paid for data. That's what she relayed to me, so. There she is.
I know, we're waiting for Tom.
Ones are more for cooking.
Tom Kitts has been over to be on that.
Paul, are you gonna go over these new updates?
I had not planned on it. I mean, I thought it was something for you guys to review on your,
It's a single.
yeah. Yeah. So, no, everything is, these are inserts for your.
There's nothing significantly changed here that's gonna would affect anything going forward.
Update to some of them, but in essence, that first, that top sheet is kind of a, or what I. Hey, here's where your position is in the budget. It should say about 10,500. And you're basically running in the black. You're not running a deficit. Right. But there's 106,000 out of the.
Where it was 42.
Correct. I mean, first put it together. Some of that was.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Roll call to approve minutes from the previous meeting. You guys get a chance to review them. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're good. Sheriff requested that we move his thing farther down the line. He's got a couple meetings going back and forth.
Garland, you're gonna speak louder, get closer to the
Can you hear me now?
mic.
Okay. Sheriff requested he goes farther down the meeting. I thought I'd try to do a summary where we're at a little bit at this point to get us there. We still have the meeting this afternoon with ARP funds of what we think is eligible and not. I think it's a big issue with our capital funds. We've got the sheriff's request is still going to be presented today. We're not sure what ARP does, but we'll have that meeting again today. We have capital budget still to play with and decide if we put it in both budgets based on ARP funds or not. Got the wages for people under $15 an hour, and we then got the wages for everybody outside the bargaining units. I think that's generally it.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure on the approval of the minutes that motion was meant to take care of all of the workshop and all of the minutes that are in our packet here. So that goes back to the July 8th meeting coming forward, 22nd, 29th, 30th, the 2nd. So I am the.
It's fine with me. Is that okay? Is that?
Yeah. I just wanted to have that clear for
Okay.
thing. Laramie, you okay with that?
6
Yeah, okay. Right. Yep.
Visitors, because we got so much to do. Anybody have comments or things they want to present to the group? Moving along. Treasurer's financial report. He just left. Oh, there he is. How could I miss you? Any highlights? Obviously, we haven't had a chance to review this because.
Other than, I think as you look through them, you guys will see that revenues are coming in very strong. Expenditures are probably right on pace in terms of what the budget was set up to do. So, you know, this year, this fiscal year is turning into so far, a very good year based on revenue. So from that, and then any questions you have, you can reach out to me or Paula. She will be gone for the next week. So, you know, you can reach out to me if you have any issues.
A question, is it possible or legal or anything to list capital fund requests and ARP requests in the same budget? Do we have to budget ARP requests or see what way? Because, or should I wait
No,
till this
that's,
afternoon?
that's gonna be in a separate, those requests are gonna come through a committee and then the committee will come to the finance team for approval for anything that the committee approves. And then obviously it'll go to full board, but the only thing that you'd want between the two in terms of ARP and your budget would be any of the revenue, lost revenue that, in essence, due to the pandemic, that you could then pull out of the ARP funding and replace to help fund the budget. There are some other things that we can work with, but that would be the only thing you would look for. You wouldn't want to show those, hey, this capital request would go against the ARP because you don't know if it qualifies for that yet or not.
But if you had your capital budget with it included and your intent with an intent letter was to try to get ARP funding for that, you don't have do you have a non-budgeted capital fund then?
Yeah, then you could, if it was deemed that it's appropriate for ARP, you can pull it out of the capital budget, if you will, and say, I no longer need it through capital because I can fund it through the ARP funding.
So we don't have to worry about double budgeting.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I would do today is I would budget your capital requests. And then as you find that ARP can pay for those, you can do an adjustment and a revision through resolution and pull it out of there.
But are we losing our leverage with the feds if we show that we have?
No.
Okay. All right. You guys understand what I just?
No,
Mhm.
that's a good question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
One time.
Anything else on the treasures? Oh, we got to do our quarterly treasures report.
I think that was last month, actually.
Yeah.
So
we'll be-
that was approved from,
Right,
okay.
right.
I guess we're to Joseph Meyer resolutions. Anybody gonna,
Back up. I do have a comment for insurance.
okay, go ahead.
So we met, that was last Friday, Wendy and the insurance company, the insurance committee did have a meeting with our Gallagher and Associates, and we're continuing to get clarity in regards to all the pieces of the insurance makeup of the county. There were some pieces missing, at least in my mind, about how, and I think also Wendy and I are getting a very good education on how this all works. And but there'll probably be more education to come as we untangle everything and unpack how ours works and what our actual costs are. And there may be some adjustments going forward. So
And do we have a hard budget number yet or not yet?
I think the numbers that for the insurance purposes, the numbers that Paula has put in the budget are going to be the numbers we're going to work off of, and then any adjustments that need to be made on any changes going forward would be made
Okay.
at that time.
Thank you. Wendy, you got anything to add? Okay. Thanks, Jim. So Joseph Meyer resolutions.
You skipped me. We're here on grid.
I did skip you on, where am I missing that? Is this an old agenda? Oh, Greco, the one right underneath treasurer quarterly reports. Go ahead.
Greater Rochelle Economic Development has requested a meeting with Lee County and myself, Dave Anderson and Jason Anderson, and I think Wendy and a couple other people, and Bob Olson will meet. There's a potential for 2,000 acre development over there by Stewart, which is in Lee County. But they need our help with some infrastructure that they think they can fund through the federal government and IDOT. Go ahead, Wendy.
I'll just add a little bit to that I learned at the LCIDA meeting last week. Similar to our ARPA money, there is funding for economic development that's flowing down from the federal government. I don't know a lot of details at this point. That's what we'll learn at this upcoming meeting. But Jason Anderson did stress that this grant money would be highly focused on a regional economic development opportunity. And so Jason believes that there's an opportunity for us to talk about the road route around Stewart as the economic development moves into Lee County. We don't want all the truck traffic flowing through Stewart. So this is an opportunity that we're going to be exploring at this upcoming meeting.
At this point, there's no charge to us or anything else. Okay, that's great.
Yep, I got to quit shaking my head because everybody can't hear my head rattle, but that's correct. We have no commitment at this point in time. At this point in time, there's no commitment. We're just developing what that proposal would look like for this grant funding.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go back to the Joseph Myers resolutions. Protocol on this. Okay, was there any questions of people looking at it? Can I review it just briefly? Entertain a motion?
So
Is there,
Sorry, so Sheline so moves.
second, Forrester.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. God, we're whooping it along there. Court system fees, circuit clerk. Hello,
Good morning.
morning.
All right. I just wanted to let you know that things have changed since my budget hearing a couple weeks ago. The Supreme Court mandate that's going to change our manual on record keeping starting January 1st, 2022. We have quarterly reports that we have to turn in, and our case management system needs to be changed by adding some data in there so they can collect it to create sort of a mapping tool so we can get our reports correct. So last week I had a meeting with Justice Systems and the Winnebago County Circuit Clerk, and we decided to go to split the cost of these changes, and that's going to cost Lee County $65,000. Now, the changes go into effect January 1. Our reports don't start until April 15th of next year, so they're hoping to have that in place by then. So in my budget hearing, I listed this on the capital budget, and at the time I had no idea how much it was going to cost. I listed $10,000. So I do have some miscellaneous funds that line items outside of the county general that I can use for this cost. It will cover it, but I don't want to deplete these funds. So yesterday I met with Paula and we amended my budget in court document storage fund to add this in there. Not the whole amount, but I just wanted you to be aware of this. So I had.
What is the amount that?
We added $20,000 in the line item in county in court doc storage.
One time, or is that?
One time, yes.
So basically the county's picking up 40 some thousand and.
And two other funds that I already have in there listed under miscellaneous expenses that are already in there.
Okay.
What's that? Court document storage.
And Amy, this is that CNS change? that you
Yes.
have it listed,
Yes, that's,
and
yep.
we're moving
number.
that from a 10,000 request to a third.
Correct. And we did take out, I do believe she had 10,000 in there for salary that we did take out. So technically it's like $10,000. She took out that line item for salary because that was already in the county general.
Depending on our funds again, is it anybody, have you requested that to our also?
I can, but I don't know if it's going to qualify. I'll have to find out from Sarah Leisner because it has to be COVID related. And, you know, I'm not sure if that's going to qualify.
Questions? So we'll, when we have the amended budget from Paula, after we get through with all this, and we'll know for sure.
Right, correct. I met with her yesterday, so I don't know if you
And
guys have. that.
you all know that as Paula makes these adjustments, then she brings back like an adjustment sheet for you, so you can kind of see the accumulated effect of those budget adjustments.
Right.
She typically tracks that and brings that back to you. So if
And
you're
I'm
trying
sure
to find your,
There'll be many more that want
Yeah.
initial budgets from this, so.
Well, that was going to be my question to Paul, is this one reflected in?
Yeah, I
What you just
believe, I
handed
believe
out?
she worked on that yesterday afternoon. So the handout that I gave you guys to input into your packet there should have updates as of yesterday.
Okay, I'm not seeing it in the capital.
Well, because she's not talking about through capital, she's talking about using her funds outside of general. So
For
that's
part of,
for
part of
most
part.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
most of
20
it.
Yeah, but the 20,000 that's supposed to go against her capital request in here. On page 20.
No, it's in court doc storage fund.
So I'm confused now.
So,
So is there any request for county general funds?
no,
So it's coming from your two funds this way.
correct, yes.
So it'd just be on capital budget and not reflected in, well, it'd be reflected on the whole budget then. So it'd be using.
So you're pulling the whole thing out of court document storage.
No, not necessarily. I have miscellaneous expense items in court doc storage and court automation that I can pull,
Sure.
both funds. We were adding 20,000 to the equipment and furniture line item in court doc storage.
Okay, all right, that's where I was getting confused. I thought you meant that was coming out of capital.
No, nope.
Okay,
And then we took out 10,000 salary full-time out of court doc storage. So technically, we're only adding 10,000 if you want to look at it that way.
Gentlemen, I forgot you guys on, can they comment? How's it? Rick, do you have any comments? Ruth the Rick, come in, please.
on mute.
Can you hear me?
there you are.
No, I'm just looking through the budget here and trying to keep up. So if I got any questions, I'll jump in.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Hey, Arlen. Jim brought up on solid waste. I mean, is there a clarification? Am I eligible to vote on anything or no?
I don't know. We have our illustrious attorney here.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. He's not allowed to. The executive orders stopped the remote participation as of July 24th, 26th. I can't remember.
24th.
And there's nothing in the board rules that allows for it.
Okay.
Did you catch him? Kitson, get on. Okay. UTV ordinance discussion.
Oh, I got it. So Paul, on the other funds, we're gonna need pages to reflect some of the changes. I've been trying to keep up, but if we could have updates on those pages as well.
Okay, I thought they were in, and maybe you and I can go through them after the meeting,
All right,
but
that's fine.
if they're not, I will definitely get you guys updates.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because where it's a big deal. Amy, you were taking out the circuit clerk automation because you were showing an estimated ending balances at the end of this year's budget of only $6,600. So you were
Right.
drawing that down to begin with. So,
But this won't happen until next year. But we have 45,000 in equipment and furniture and clerk automation budgeted. And court doc storage was 25,000. So we were going to add 20 to that line item in court doc storage.
right. And that's it. Nothing down in circuit clerk automation.
No. we
Oh,
weren't
okay.
adding.
I thought I heard you say that you were
No.
adding something down there.
Nope.
Okay, all right. So, okay, I think I'm square.
Okay.
Takes me a little while.
As you can guess, this budget's fairly confusing. It's probably gonna get worse before it gets better, but anyway. Any other questions? Moving along. We're gonna skip over the sheriff's budget stuff unless you want to do it now. Okay. DevNet contract.
Skipped over to the UTV ordinance.
I did. Thank you. UTV ordinance.
We talked about this in transportation. We're gonna, I think, every standing committee is supposed to make any comments or concerns and pass that along to the executive. But I
didn't review it.
Yeah, I have no concerns, Mr. Chairman, so I'd make the motion to go ahead and pass the ordinance as written.
Is there a second to that? Anything, anybody know anything about that that'd like to comment?
Actually, it's for discussion only. There's no motion.
Yeah, you don't have to make.
Oh, we're not.
Hey, Jim, you said it as written.
Pass along. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'll withdraw my motion. Yeah. If there's no need for a motion. I just figured we did it in transportation. I think-
Probably good that you guys did in transportation, just because give you a record.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Who was the second?
Oh, done.
I'll withdraw that, yes.
Thank you. Rick?
Jim said as written. I know that there was some talk of some changes at solid waste and highway. Are those changes updated now, or I don't have any of that information in front of me, so.
I don't know which changes were included from transportation and solid waste. There was, let's see, 2 changes that I put on here, and I apologize, I didn't get them to Becky yesterday. It was the slow moving emblem. There was some concerns about that. The language that was changed on there was on the rear of the non-highway vehicle if traveling on a roadway with a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less. Now, I think there's also been some rumblings of wanting to remove that altogether. So I don't know if that's something that will be removed altogether. Let's see what else.
Yeah,
There was also conversation on public safety as for
Sorry. That is the loudest ringtone I've ever heard. I need to have that when I'm on the tractor.
So there was also some discussion about public safety as to a windshield or some type of safety eyewear. So I've had some proposed language in there. It says windshield. If applicant driver does not have a windshield, the applicant driver is required to wear safety eyewear or safety helmet with eye protection. Again, that's just a suggestion. If you guys want to change that, it's certainly something you can do. I think that may have covered concerns that I was told of.
Yeah, there was one other that I was going to bring up in executive, Charlie, and that is in section 2 under general, non-highway vehicles as defined herein shall be allowed on county and township roads. And the issue that got brought up in transportation was that we don't have jurisdiction over township roads, and the townships would have to have their own ordinance.
Correct. And I apologize for that. That was something that was brought up that I think in order for that to work, and we included that language so that it would encompass those areas as the sheriff would be enforcing those areas under his authority and purview. In order to do that, those townships would have to pass a resolution or have a vote to allow for the adoption of this ordinance or allowing for the adoption of those UTVs to travel through there under these regulations. So there's plenty of time for that to be done from now until the final board vote, which would be in September, because it has to be held over this month anyway.
Right.
DevNet.
Arlen, I'll take that.
Okay.
So DevNet is our tax administration software. It's the software that's shared by the assessor, the treasurer, and the clerk. And we've had this software for about 20 years. This is our 5-year renewal year. So we have another contract for the next 5 years. That contract has been reviewed by Charlie in the state's attorney's office, and we are prepared to sign another 5-year renewal. It's unclear to me whether this type of thing, being a renewal of a software that we have already had and that's already been budgeted, is necessary to bring to you. But I'm bringing it to you just as an FYI, if nothing else. We will be looking for a signature on that contract from the board chairman. So I wanted to put it on your radar. Again, I'm not clear if it needs to be, and it's not on your agenda actually, it is on your agenda. So you could make a motion to move this to executive and put it on the full board for a vote, more from a transparency perspective than a need perspective. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Was it budgeted?
Yes, it's been budgeted for 20 years and it's budgeted for the next year. I will point out, though, this is something we talked to the finance committee about at budget hearing time, in that for the last few years, I'm going to say maybe 8 years, it has been budgeted out of the IT department. So one lump sum was paid by IT. This year, we did reallocate that out to the individual budgets of the individual offices that use it. So the clerk, treasurer, and assessor. So it's a little bit different, but it was a dollar for dollar reallocation out of IT and into these other budgets. But again, this is something we've had in place for over 20 years.
Thank you.
Charlie, what do you?
No, nothing.
Hey.
Sorry.
Any thought on, do we need a motion on this or to move to executive, just FYI?
I don't think you need a motion on it.
Arlen, that's all I had on that topic.
That's good. Thank you. Election equipment request for proposal county clerk.
Good morning. I just wanted to let the finance committee know that my election equipment went out for bid this week. It went in the newspaper on Tuesday and it is posted online. The deadline for my bids for the election equipment is August 20th at noon. Questions?
Is this one of those that we're gonna do our for too?
That is going to be discussed today at 1 o'clock, Arlen. So it's on the agenda for that today at 1.
The feds won't be supportive of election equipment because there's little issues out there, voting rights and stuff.
It's looking positive, but again, I won't know until we meet today at 1 o'clock for sure to let the board know.
So at this point, we have it in our capital budget.
I got a question, Arlen.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, in our budget, our packet that we're looking at, the election equipment, if it's not covered by ARP, wasn't forecasted until 2024. So I guess there's concern on my end that if it doesn't qualify for ARP, it's not in this year's capital budget.
Rick, this is Wendy. I remember from the conversation at your budget hearings that Paula was the one that put that out there for 2024. And that was actually based on, and I think the number was like 340,000. That was based on a request by Kathy Myers either last year or the year before, because it was on her radar that this equipment and software would need to be replaced. So you're probably correct. It's not earmarked right now for next year. It was out there in 2024, but that was a decision that Paula made in conjunction with with Kathy Myers, not Nancy. Nancy's learned more since then. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, but your contract with the current provider ends this November 30th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
2021. So we do need to take action on it.
Well, I guess still the concern is that it's not reflecting in this year's budget going forward. And if that's the case, we need to make those changes and see how that affects the bottom line.
Okay, to answer that, Rick, if it's not covered with the ARPA grant, which would be an outright purchase, then we would proceed with how the election equipment was done in the previous years, which would be we will lease that equipment.
Yeah.
So it's in my budget for that lease, a payment quarterly. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I think we talked about that at your hearing about continuing to lease, and I thought you were going to look into those numbers, and perhaps that's already in your budget. At that time, I wasn't sure if you had that information or not.
Well, the question with that is obviously going out for bid. We don't know exactly the company that we're going with. And
Right.
that's the problem I have right now is that the two companies that have reached out to me, there's quite a bit of a difference in the pricing. So we don't know the exact number, what that would be if we had to go forward. They're giving me a quote on leasing the equipment and then also buying the equipment outright. So there's obviously quite a bit of a difference there. So there's just still a lot of question marks.
Is your budget including the lease at this point, for Rick's question?
That is correct, yes.
Does at least one of the bids, is it the same amount or close to the same amount as what you got budgeted?
What I've seen so far, it's very close, yes.
Does that help, Rick?
Well, yeah, I mean, at least we know we got the lease covered. I guess the big surprise or the big number would be is if we decide to purchase, and it doesn't sound like we're going to know what that amount is for a while yet, but that's definitely going to have an effect on our capital budget for 2022 because that money was not earmarked. So,
Rick, in the two updates we got at the capital plan, the 200,000 was put in, is reflected in the capital plan. Just so you know.
Okay.
You're probably going off of that original one that had the 340,000 on it.
yeah, I don't have anything since our hearings, so.
Yeah. But that's
Maybe
still,
you
I
had-
mean,
If Paul could maybe email that to me later today, that'd be great.
Yeah, Rick, I'll go ahead and email that to you.
Thank you.
You also mailed to Tom Kitson then, please. Thank you. Anything else? Let's take the highway department equipment purchase. Anybody want to comment on that? We reviewed that last.
yeah, that was part of the budget discussion that we had with Dave Anderson.
Right.
And the transportation committee did make made a recommendation to the executive committee that bids are to be sought for the excavator at the $270,000 level.
Marilyn?
If I remember correctly from highway, I think we wanted finance to make a motion to, or make an amendment to the current budget to allow those purchases to happen this year.
That's right.
So is there a will to do that?
No, Dave's got the financing for it.
Yeah.
So I'd make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Motion would be for amend Dave's budget to allow for the purchase $270,000 for an excavator and a trailer.
Is there a second to that? Okay. Is there a discussion?
And Jim, that money, my understanding is coming from the extra fees collected from the wind tower project, correct? And would come out of capital? Is that my understanding?
No, I don't think, no, it's coming out of general.
Is that where that money went then?
Marilyn?
No, it is not coming out of capital projects or general fund. Highway has their own fund. The wind farm road use agreements money went into highway. The last year and this coming year, Dave has had an additional 200,000 additional levy. I don't remember the exact amount, which, because I don't have my paperwork in front of me. But he's got the funds through those two sources. The question was whether he do it in 2021 or 2022. With this budget amendment, he can do part of it this year because he has the money.
Rick?
It was my understanding it wasn't out of the wind or the road use agreement. It was coming from the permit fees from the projects that either came in that weren't budgeted or it was coming from permit fees was my understanding.
Permit fees from the road use agreements, not zoning permit fees. But maybe permit fees isn't the correct term, but it is a result of the road use agreements.
Oh, I should have been ready for this to be asked for. I've got that page somewhere in here.
Well, and I guess I think we're all clear that we've got some extra money, but I think for balancing purposes, we need to know for sure where that money is coming from and to make the proper motion so it gets taken care of properly.
I didn't bring my copies of finance stuff, but David outlined that whole thing at his budget hearing.
Yep, he did.
Jim's looking.
I'm looking. It's in here.
Paul, do you know where it's at?
I think you guys had some notes that you were taking when he was.
Dave had
No,
a
there
handout.
was a page that Dave had generated that showed exactly how that was all to be done. Well, actually, there was a proposal A and proposal B. And we did A.
Can we do this? Can we do a motion subject to the finding the, how do we do this?
I've got it right here in front of me.
You got it?
It's a Shady Oaks permit payment, 110,000. Big Sky permit payment, 145. A levy adjustment of 2021 of 200,000. And then the 2022 levy normalization is going to be 200,000. So there's $655,000 of revenue in there for his planned purchases over the next 2 years.
Any other comments? Rick, are you okay with it that way?
So.
Yeah.
So it's really not a straight up, how should we do that motion then? Because it's not really, do it as presented by the county engineer. Would that work?
You just need to amend the motion.
Did he have any money on capital for 2021?
He's got the money. We don't need to worry about where it's coming from because we've already got at least the 2021 portion. We just need the motion to amend the budget to allow him to expend that money this year.
Marilyn, I think we're just checking, make sure we're in both budgets. If that's the case, I don't think that's an issue at all.
Well, he was gonna spend 200 and some, again, I don't have the documents in front of me, 200 and some thousand each of 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it at home from when I came to budget hearings, but I didn't bring that stuff.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Going to be, don't.
You're on finance, so you bring all the finance stuff, I'm not.
Just give us a second, see if we can figure this out. No pressure, Jim.
Yeah, I know. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you.
You see his option one down below is kind of defining what he's looking for.
Right.
Do you want to amend your motion then?
Well, I'm just, if you just bear with me, I'm just making sure that. Okay, so this is just a straight appropriation. This is, the way I read this, this is not coming out of capital. So this is just an amendment to his budgeted line item for equipment. And that would be an additional $270,000 to amend the 2021 budget for the purchase of an excavator, trailer, and pickup truck.
Is there a second for that?
Try it again.
Can you do a budget amendment
There's a resolution or an ordinance, I can't remember what it was, that requires if it's over a certain amount, he has to go to the full board rather than finance, and I don't know what that is.
I don't remember the threshold either, but I can assure you this exceeds the threshold where it has to go to the full board.
It has to go to the full board.
Okay, so
That's
this
why
would
we're
be
taking
putting
it
it
to
on executive.
executive, and then executive will forward on the full board.
Yep.
On the agenda.
Got that clear? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I think we're to you, the sheriff, we want to take a 5-minute break before we get to our permit file. And I want the record to show he's not wearing his officer suit. He's wearing medicine, so. 5 minutes.
Yeah.